The savanna whispers with secrets. Scattered bones lie beneath the sun, skulls cracked, ribs broken, the remnants of an entire tribe that vanished in a single moment. No lions linger nearby, no signs of fire, no evidence of flight, just silence. At 3.6 million years ago, small bands of early humans struggled to survive against predators, hunger, and storms. Yet in one place, something far stranger occurred. An entire tribe found lifeless, as if the earth itself had turned against them. Were they hunted, poisoned, crushed by nature's fury, or was this the first sign of conflict between humans themselves? This mystery remains unsolved, but its lessons run deep into survival, fear, and the birth of human caution. Stay with us as we uncover the unexplained death of a whole tribe, a prehistoric tragedy that shaped humanity's earliest instincts. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more forgotten stories of survival. Africa, 3.6 million years ago. The land was harsh, torn between droughts and storms, where food was scarce and predators stalked relentlessly. Bands of early humans, Australopithecus afarensis, wandered in fragile groups, scavenging roots, fruits, and bones for marrow. They had no fire, no weapons beyond sticks and stones, and every step carried risk. In this brutal world, survival was always fragile. Death usually came at the claws of a lion, the jaws of a crocodile, or the fangs of a snake. Yet sometimes, nature offered mysteries that terrified as much as any predator. One such mystery was the sudden disappearance of an entire tribe. Their bones, later scattered by scavengers, told no clear story. There were no fang marks, no claw slashes, no signs of mass drowning or fire. They had simply fallen, together, in silence. What could erase a whole tribe in a single moment? Was it a predator? Disease? Starvation? Or something far more disturbing, violence from their own kind? This is their story, reconstructed through imagination and survival memory, the tale of a vanished people whose tragedy shaped the instincts of those who followed. Africa, 3.6 million years ago, was a land caught between two worlds. Forests that had once stretched unbroken were thinning, replaced by expanding grasslands. Rivers ran shallow in long seasons of drought, only to flood suddenly when storms broke open the sky. It was a land of extremes, a place where every creature lived close to the edge of survival. For early humans, Australopithecus afarensis, this was a time of constant risk. They were small, barely over a meter tall, with no claws, no fangs, no thick hide to shield them. Their only weapons were sticks and stones, their only protection the fragile bonds of their tribe. Together, they scavenged roots from parched soil, fruits from scattered trees, and marrow from bones left behind by predators. Every day was a gamble between hunger, thirst, and danger. Predators stalked every shadow. Lions crouched low in tall grass, waiting for a moment of weakness. Leopards prowled silently through branches, ready to drop without warning. Crocodiles lurked in rivers, their jaws snapping shut like traps on the unwary. Hyenas prowled the night, their laughter echoing into the darkness as they tore apart anything left unguarded. And yet, the greatest danger was not always visible. The land itself betrayed them. Sudden storms drowned riversides. Droughts cracked the ground, leaving nothing to eat. Diseases lurked in stagnant pools, invisible killers that stole life as swiftly as any predator. In this unforgiving land, tribes of humans survived not by strength but by caution. They stayed close together, keeping watch while others fed. They moved constantly, following food and water, never lingering too long in one place. They relied on memory, passing warnings from one generation to the next through cries and gestures. But even the sharpest instincts, even the strongest bonds, could not always protect them. For in this land of shadows, there were dangers that came without sound, without claw or fang, dangers that erased not one life, but many. Section 2. The Tribe That Vanished, to 600 to 700 words. It was a discovery that would haunt every band of humans who heard of it. The scattered bones of a whole tribe, lying silent beneath the Sunday. The first group to find them was another wandering group following a dry riverbed in search of water. At first, they saw only vultures circling high above, drifting lazily on the hot air. But as they drew closer, the smell reached them, the sour stench of death. And then, the bones. They were everywhere. Skulls, ribs, femurs, all bleached by the Sunday. The skeletons lay jumbled, some curled as if in sleep, others sprawled as if struck mid-flight. Infants lay among them, tiny bones beside the larger frames of adults. There were no clear signs of a predator attack, no fang marks in the skulls, no deep claw gashes on the ribs. The bones had been picked clean by scavengers long after the tribe had fallen. The humans froze, hearts pounding. This was not a single kill, not the scattered remains of a lone hunter. This was a whole people gone. Fear swept through them. They whispered guttural cries, pointing at the bones, clutching their children closer. They did not linger. They drank quickly from the river, then fled the area, marking it in memory as a place of death. But the questions remained, whispered in the silence of the night. What had happened here? Had predators descended in overwhelming numbers, striking so swiftly that no one escaped? Had the earth itself betrayed them, a flood drowning them where they stood? Or was there something far more sinister, humans striking against humans, wiping out rivals for food and water? The discovery became a story passed from tribe to tribe, growing darker with every retelling. The death ground, they called it. A place where life ended without warning. A place to avoid forever. For those who found it, the vanished tribe was more than a tragedy. It was a warning that survival was fragile beyond comprehension. That entire band could vanish in a single day. That death did not always roar or strike, it could also fall silently, leaving only bones behind. The most obvious explanation for the death of a whole tribe was predators. After all, the land swarmed with them: lions, saber-toothed cats, leopards, hyenas, crocodiles. To live in Africa at 3.6 million years ago was to live among hunters that dwarfed fragile humans in strength and speed. A pride of lions could scatter a band in seconds. Crocodiles, striking from rivers, could drag entire families into the depths. Hyenas, relentless and numerous, could harass prey until exhaustion claimed it. On the surface, it seemed reasonable. Perhaps one night, predators attacked in overwhelming force, leaving none alive. And yet, the bones told another story. When humans died to claws and fangs, their skeletons bore marks, punctures in skulls, deep gashes in ribs, bones cracked and shattered. Here, such wounds were strangely absent. The tribe's remains lay clean, scattered only by scavengers that fed later. There was no evidence of a chaotic slaughter. That led to another possibility: nature's fury. Storms in this age were unpredictable and brutal. Rains that built over weeks could unleash themselves in a single night, flooding dry riverbeds with torrents strong enough to sweep entire herds away. Perhaps the tribe had been caught in such a flood, drowned where they camped, their bodies carried and left behind. But again, the bones did not lie in tangled heaps as drowned bodies often did. They were scattered, yet not smashed or dragged far, nor were there traces of mud or silt that spoke of sudden waters. Could poisonous plants have played a role? The land held roots and fruits that sustained, but some carried toxins invisible to the eye. A starving band might have eaten bitter fruit or drank from stagnant pools tainted with unseen killers. Death could have come silently, striking them all within hours. Predators were loud. Floods left scars on the land. But poison or sickness? These were quiet assassins, leaving only bones in their wake. Whatever the cause, the unanswered question remained more terrifying than any clear answer. If predators had killed them, humans knew how to fight, to run, to avoid. But if death came from the unseen, then there was no escape. Another possibility was hunger. The land was unforgiving, and when drought stretched across weeks, food vanished. Rivers dried, fruit trees bore nothing, roots withered beneath hardened soil. Starvation was a slow, merciless killer. At first, the tribe might have endured by sharing scraps, roots, and insects. They dug deeper into the earth for tubers, stripped bark, and gnawed bones left by other predators. But as days stretched into weeks, their strength ebbed. The children's cries weakened, elders staggered. Mothers' arms grew thin as they clutched infants too weak to feed. Unlike predator attacks, starvation left little trace on bones, especially once scavengers scattered them. What remained was not violence, but silence. The tribe would have simply collapsed, one by one, too weak to move, too weak to resist. Imagine the scene. A circle of humans huddled beneath a lone tree, their bellies shrunken, eyes glazed with despair. Some tried to rise, stumbling in search of food, only to fall. Others sat motionless, rocking infants that no longer stirred. There were no screams, no roars, no floods, only the stillness of death spreading through the camp like a shadow. When another band eventually stumbled upon the site, all they found were remains scattered by vultures and hyenas. No fight, no wounds, no survivors, just bones bleached by the sun, silent testimony to famine's cruelty. The terror of this explanation was its inevitability. Predators could be avoided, storms fled, rival tribes fought. But hunger was different. It crept in slowly, unavoidably, unrelenting, and when it struck, there was little a small band of fragile humans could do. This theory haunted other tribes. They began to move more often, abandoning land that grew barren, seeking rivers, groves, even at great risk. Better to face predators than to face the slow death of famine. The vanished tribe became a lesson whispered in fear. Never stay when the land is empty. Keep moving, or we too will fall. Predators left claw marks. Floods left mud. Famine left silence. But sometimes death came from something even more terrifying, something unseen, something that could not be fought with stones or sticks: disease. At 3.6 million years ago, early humans had no understanding of parasites, bacteria, or toxins, yet the land was filled with them. Stagnant pools after rain bred invisible killers. Spoiled meat scavenged from a predator's kill carried sickness. Even water drawn from certain streams carried parasites that drained strength from the body. Imagine a tribe arriving thirsty at a muddy waterhole. They crouch to drink, cupping the cloudy liquid in their hands. Hours later, cramps twist their stomachs, fever rises, children wail, elders collapse. The sickness spreads like fire in dry grass. Within days, the band is too weak to move, too weak to resist predators, too weak even to gather food. The bones later left behind bore no scars of violence, yet the whole group lay dead. To those who discovered them, the absence of wounds made the tragedy even more terrifying. If no predator had struck, then what had killed them? And worse, could it kill again? For neighboring tribes, the mystery turned to dread. They avoided waterholes near the death ground, moving far away. They carried new vigilance, sniffing water before drinking, testing fruits with caution. Mothers warned children never to stray near stagnant pools, teaching fear of places where death might wait unseen. This possibility, the invisible killer, changed survival itself. It was not enough to watch the grass for lions or the sky for birds. Humans had to guard against what they could not see. The first instincts of hygiene and caution were born here, carved into memory by the loss of a tribe erased by sickness. There was another possibility, one that chilled even more than predators, storms, or sickness. Perhaps the vanished tribe had not been destroyed by nature at all. Perhaps it was humans themselves. By 3.6 million years ago, food and water were scarce. Bands often crossed paths at rivers or groves, their eyes wary, their bodies tense. Most encounters ended with noise and display screams, thrown stones, and waving sticks until one side retreated. But sometimes desperation outweighed caution. Hunger could turn fear into violence. Imagine two tribes meeting at a dwindling river, both thirsty, both starving. The stronger group circles the weaker, hurling stones. At first, it is only a display, but then a single stone strikes too hard. A cry splits the air, panic erupts, sticks swing, rocks shatter bone. In minutes, chaos becomes slaughter. If the weaker tribe fell completely, their bodies left behind, scavengers would erase most traces within days. Bones would scatter, wounds blurred by time and teeth. To later observers, the sight might look no different from famine or sickness. But the truth would be darker. Humanity's first war, written in blood and silence. This possibility haunted other bands. The discovery of the death ground did not only whisper of predators or famine, it hinted at betrayal. That those who looked like you, who screamed like you, who carried children like you, could also kill like predators. It was a terrifying thought, but also a formative one. From this fear grew suspicion. Strangers were no longer just rivals for food, they were potential executioners. Caution toward outsiders hardened into instinct. Tribes began to avoid one another, keeping a greater distance, moving quickly if unfamiliar cries echoed nearby. If the vanished tribe was indeed destroyed by others, then their tragedy marked the dawn of a new kind of danger, humans against humans. And that possibility may have been the most frightening of all. When the bones of the vanished tribe were first discovered, it was not just a mystery, it was a warning. Fear spread faster than predators, faster than hunger. It seeped into every band of humans that heard the story, reshaping the way they lived. The first reaction was avoidance. The place where the bodies lay was quickly marked in memory as cursed ground. No band lingered there. Even those desperate for water or food would circle wide, refusing to touch the soil where so many had fallen. Children were carried quickly past, shielded from the sight, as mothers whispered guttural warnings. But fear did not stop at the death ground. It seeped into every decision. At night, bands huddled closer together, their circles tighter, their voices louder. Extra sentries were posted on the edges, scanning both the grass and the skies. Camps were abandoned more quickly, never allowing the land to grow too familiar. If death could strike suddenly, better to keep moving than to wait for it. This fear also sharpened suspicion. When strange tribes appeared on the horizon, humans no longer saw neighbors, they saw possible threats. Was it another tribe that had destroyed the vanished band? Could it happen again? Shouts grew harsher, stones raised sooner, retreats made quicker. The bond of us versus them deepened, fueled not only by rivalry for food, but by the memory of bones left behind. Even nature itself became suspect. Waterholes once trusted were eyed with doubt. Fruits once eaten were tested more carefully. If invisible death had struck the vanished tribe, then every sip and every bite carried risk. The mystery of the tribe's death did more than erase lives. It reshaped the lives of all who remained. Fear became a permanent companion, a survival tool as essential as stones and sticks. And though it made life harsher, it also made it longer. Fear taught vigilance, and vigilance meant survival. From tragedy came teaching. The unexplained death of the tribe was not forgotten. It became a lesson passed from parent to child, generation to generation, shaping instincts that endure even now. The first lesson was caution. Children were trained to follow the group closely, never wandering far. Elders pointed to the horizon and warned of unseen dangers. If the vanished tribe had fallen without struggle, then safety meant never taking chances. The second lesson was movement. No band stayed in one place for too long. Even if food was plentiful, even if water was close, they moved on. Better to abandon a good site than to risk whatever silent killer might strike again. This constant migration sharpened their resilience. preparing them for journeys that would one day take humanity across continents. The third lesson was memory. The story of the vanished tribe became part of survival culture. At night, around gatherings, elders mimicked collapse, pointing to the earth, then making warning gestures that said, "Stay together, stay alert, never forget." These reenactments were not entertainment, they were drills, training the young to live with suspicion carved into their bones. The fourth lesson was unity. If disease or famine could not be fought, then at least predators and rivals could. Bands learned to defend together, to form circles, to hurl stones in volleys, to scream louder than fear. Unity became the one weapon against the unknown. These lessons transformed fragile prey into something more. They did not erase vulnerability, but they gave structure to survival. Each step forward carried the memory of the vanished tribe, each choice guided by their silent warning. The tribe that died left no voices, no descendants, yet in their absence they taught the living. They became more than a tragedy, they became teachers of caution, vigilance, and resilience, shaping instincts that would guide humanity for millions of years. The vanished tribe lived not through descendants, but through story. For early humans, story was survival, a way to preserve dangers that could not be seen, to pass warnings beyond the reach of memory alone. At night, bands gathered close beneath trees or in shallow caves. Elders, their faces carved by age and fear, performed the tale of the death ground. They lay down suddenly, bodies limp, then pointed at the earth, mimicking collapse. They spread their arms wide as if to show bones scattered under the sundae. Children gasped, clutching mothers' arms, their eyes wide with dread. The message was clear: this could happen to us. These performances became ritual. Whenever a band passed near the cursed ground, elders retold the tragedy, driving the lesson deeper. Sometimes they marked the soil with sticks or stones, symbols of warning. Over time, the memory of one tribe's disappearance became more than a caution, it became a myth. Children grew up with the story as part of their earliest lessons. Just as they learned to climb trees to escape predators, they learned to avoid places where silence lingered too long, where no birds sang, where the air itself seemed heavy. The death ground was etched not just into memory, but into instinct. Through these stories, fear transformed into culture. It unified bands with shared warnings, a common enemy in the unknown. It gave them identity. We are the ones who survived when others did not. The vanished tribe, though gone, became immortal in these lessons. Their tragedy was retold for countless seasons, shaping the choices of those who lived. And in this way, they left a legacy more powerful than blood, the first shared myth of human survival. Though their bones lay silent, the tribe that vanished left a mark deeper than any predator's claw. Their disappearance forced humanity to change, to grow sharper, warier, stronger. The first legacy was vigilance. From then on, humans looked not only at predators and storms, but at the land itself. They watched for silence, for sickness, for signs of danger that left no scars. Every cautious glance at a waterhole, every suspicious step across open plains, echoed the memory of the tribe that had fallen. The second legacy was suspicion. Strangers were no longer just neighbors wandering the savannah, they were possible threats. The idea that humans could destroy humans was born in this shadow. Suspicion hardened into instinct, shaping behavior for millennia. The third legacy was resilience. To see death on such a scale was to confront despair. But instead of breaking, survivors learned to adapt. They moved more often, shared food more carefully, and clung tighter to unity. Fear became discipline, and discipline became survival. And the final legacy was memory itself. This was perhaps the first time humans confronted the extinction of an entire community. They responded not by forgetting but by remembering, by weaving the story into culture. That instinct to preserve memory through story, ritual, teaching was the seed of something uniquely human. The tribe that perished left no descendants, yet their silence echoed across time. They taught vigilance, they taught suspicion, they taught resilience, and in their absence, they gave humanity a gift: the ability to remember tragedy and use it as a weapon against the future. The bones of the vanished tribe tell no clear story. No predator marks, no signs of fire, no tracks of flood. Just silence, and the memory of lives erased. Their death remains a mystery, perhaps famine, perhaps sickness, perhaps betrayal by their own kind. But for those who came after, the cause mattered less than the lesson. The tribe's fate became a warning carved into instinct, that survival was fragile, that danger could come without sound or shadow, that death could erase an entire people in a single moment. This mystery shaped humanity's earliest behaviors. It sharpened vigilance. It fueled suspicion. It gave birth to memory as a survival tool. And it reminded fragile humans that to endure in a hostile world, they must cling together, move carefully, and never ignore the whispers of danger. The tribe may have died in silence, but their legacy roared across time. They became humanity's first teachers in tragedy, reminding us even now that survival is never guaranteed. If this haunting story of the vanished tribe moved you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it so we can continue uncovering the forgotten tragedies that shaped who we are.